Hello, good evening, and welcome back to JACKOCAR. This is the Kia series, and you're joining me, Gareth Hall, in the commentary box, and my co-commentator, Owen, will be with us very, very shortly. Literally, the second I pressed go live, there was a knock at his door, and I imagine it's someone coming to drag him out and go to another high-profile party that he keeps on attending. But we'll get Owen back in a second, don't worry. But good evening to you all. Hope you're all well, and here we go, he's back. Oh, he's just so social, aren't you?
Unfortunately, yes. But it's fine because we're here for what is... I mean, the tension is just killing me for tonight's race. I mean, we have got Yuri fighting for the regular series championship.
It's so tight.
18 entire points up there at the top of the championship. I mean, if he wins it from there, I mean, you just got to take your hat off to him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, as you say,
will soon be renamed. Literally, just Yuri's going to win every race, the championship.
Oh, so, I mean, I thought we were being a bit harsh when we were suggesting that he was stat padding at the start of the season, but coming into the regular season finale, here we are at Imola, and Yuri has an 18-point advantage, 13-point extra playoff points in the season. He's the only man to win 2 races this season. Behind him is Jamie Bromley, who has even yet to win a race, and he's advanced on points. But we have got 2 spaces left in the playoffs, and of course everyone else will go into the chase. So the battle is on. Can Splinter win the race with Yuri scoring no less than 2 championship points?
No.
So we'll find out.
Do you know what the thing is? This is Jacko's league, right? He's sitting here on the edge of the cutoff. If he had just done the sensible thing and got Yuri out of this tier when he was quite clearly the best driver in it, and is also having a decent run in the Cup Series, then he would be a little bit more comfortable going into tonight. So I think if anyone here's got any sense, they'll be rooting for Matt Roseman really to get through here, to make a point more than anything to Jacko that he's really not very good at this whole giving himself a chance, because I suppose we're going to have to focus on him quite a lot tonight.
Yeah, well, technically he's what you would say on the bubble, but he's not really on the bubble, is he?
Really, is it?
But it's
8 points, but you never know in this league. Around Imola as well, where the weather can play havoc, and has done in most races we've done here. Anything really can happen. And Jacko, yeah, I think he'll be ruining this when he gets lapped by Yuri on lap 23.
A circuit that Yuri, both Hasselagers, are very much accustomed to.
Dominant.
And, yeah, I know. It's weird, that, isn't it? And in fact, it was last time out, it was Leroy that took the race win here when we were here at Season 4, Round 10, ahead of Matt Shepherd and Michel Goris in P3.
He did the double then at him last season, didn't
he? He did the double in the same... No, is it the 1 week after another? I believe it was the same.
Yeah.
So it was...
something like that, yeah.
Because Yuri was the first person to win Cup and Kia in the same week.
Yeah.
And then I think Leroy did Imola in Kia and Cup 1 week after another.
Yes.
I think that's how it works.
Sounds about right, doesn't
Michel finished 0.18 of a second behind him, but still the first loser. But Matt Shepherd jumped up into P2 after Michel was took a 3-second time penalty. And Season 3, Danny Quinn took the win ahead of Vitinho and Risky, who will be joining us again tonight. Risky making a habit of racing at the moment. He's decided to sack off work, and he'll be looking at this one. You'll be looking.
More committed than most, then,
we're more committed than most commentators, you'd say.
I know. You
but
can say, yeah.
But you'll be looking for pole tonight to be in the mid to low 16s. Pole last season was Leroy's. It was a 1:15.972. Don't say that to Quinn because he'll start crying. But Yuri, however, when he was here last season,
what's Kyle doing here?
Well, I will get to that in a very, very quick second.
Sorry.
So we've got... I'm so accusatory. We've got We've got Yuri took pole. Yuri's last time here in Kia was 1:16.682. Last week in Cup he did a 16.535. So you're looking at around about a mid-16 from Yuri. Anything that's slower than a 16.5 and he's sandbagging. So now as qualifying begins and out on circuit, you can see ART Kyle. Now, Owen, you might be thinking to yourself, this is a man that has a very good chance of making the Cup Series Championship 5 this season. And you would be correct.
It's like if you showed up tonight and raced, do you know what I mean?
So, yes, the argument supposedly is Kyle's on a pad.
It looks it, to be fair, based on how it actually came.
Well, yeah, and I think maybe there's just some sort of weird thing within ART that... Because we saw it from Jamie Wright as well, that basically looked like he didn't have opposable thumbs when he was racing on his wheel.
Are they using the Kia Series as a testing session?
Yes. That's really disrespectful. It has caused quite a bit of controversy. Yes,
Kia
I know.
Are going to be pulling out. This is just going to be the series.
Jacko Series. It's going to have to change its name back to its original name.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that.
And but Kyle start his lap. And will head us off, and I'll just turn on the time because I'm sure plenty of you out there will be wanting to see what time he does, and I'm not expecting it to be particularly quick because he's gone over to pad, which I mean, he's a good lad, is Kyle, but it's almost like he's handicapping himself here.
God.
But oh my word! I mean, he's to be fair. It's not far off from Kaya, so you just read that as Kaya, and pretty much the lines will be about the same. He's gone purple in Sector 1, however, so it's a blisteringly fast time from ART Kyle, and Kyle's making his way up. Round this so iconic circuit, many people would say this is one of their up there with the circuits they remember watching, and Kyle has only got about as far as George Russell did, and he's gonna find himself still with a valid time if he gets back on the circuit and can keep it going, which worryingly enough, but of course this is Kia, if he manages to complete his lap he'll probably still qualify about 9th.
Is he on a pad or the keyboard?
Or maybe it's voice activation.
Possibly, but why is he on the pad then? Has he actually got a reason for it?
I think it was just a case of Mr. Ricketts wanted to fill out the grid, and Kyle said he'd do it, and the handicap was, well, you have to do it on the pad.
Right.
So unless he's given it to his missus and she's having a go at it, I would suggest that Kyle is going to be able to complete this lap. And it's not going to be near that 1:16 mark that we were hoping we'd see. Add on an extra 24 seconds or so. Decides to clatter the wall on the inside of the kink, but it's a 38 flat. He is your current provisional pole sitter.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I don't think he'll stay though, because here comes Risky. Got some nice colours on there, and 16.4, so that's right on the money. Already, very quick.
Yeah, that's that's quicker than Yuri did in Cup this season. So Risky, who's been a little bit revitalised recently, he's had some good laps, some good races. Of course, winner back in Monza, and Monza not too far away from Imola. It's technically called it's not even called the San Marino Grand Prix anymore. So they can't even say that it's from a different province. But Risky out there and setting that 1:16.4 is going to be a hard one to beat. Wace, without a point so far this season, he has retired from pretty much every race he's competed in so far, and even had an issue last week where his game basically lagged out. His livery changed halfway through the race. But what can he do? It's going to be a 16, so it's a 17.5. So it's not a great lap there from Mr. Wace Cooper. He goes into P2 and over to, is it Thomas Nevitt? I believe it's Thomas, or is it Marco Schneider?
Is it Marco Schneider, isn't it? I should point out, obviously, that the drivers right at the back of the championship, i.e. Marco Schneider, who are watching now, they are in must-win situations. There's only really 3 drivers here who can't qualify. Three on the championship anyway, but Marco Schneider, doesn't really have to worry about it. If he wins the race, he gets through. Thomas Nevitt is in the same situation, Harry Colley, Robin Border and Matt Shepherd. So they're all must-wins to get through. So they're really going to have to give it everything. And, you can see Marco's a few seconds off the pace already, so it will need one of those rain-affected races really to get those guys up there. And, yeah, we'll see how they get on, because 3.2 seconds off the pace, not exactly ideal. And Thomas Nevitt's invalid time, even less so.
Yes, so Thomas will be starting so far from the back of this one, and over to Isaac Edamat. And Isaac in not really the greatest season. We've seen Kingen up there towards the front of races for plenty of seasons here in Kia, but hasn't really locked it in so far on this account. But I'm sure he'll be hoping for a decent lap around the circuit at Imola, and well, Kingen with some work to do. He says he goes purple in sector 1. However, I'm sure, as you all know by now, ignore that. Wait until it gets to the line. We'll be able to tell you if he has gone fastest as he goes around, of course, up to the top of the circuit. And now you start going downhill before you climb back up and head towards the Variante Alta. And what were two very famous chicanes. You had the Variante Alta and the Variante Bosa. Of course, the Bosa has been taken away in the redesign. Yes, it's actually a line that I found out that the ART guys were utilising in the Cup race quite frequently without getting penalised. And so creative use of track limits. But what do we see from King? And it's going to be an 18.4. So well, Risky's time is looking pretty healthy at the moment.
Yeah, then you'll have to wait quite a while then for that to be beaten, because I really do think there'll be pretty much only Yuri who can go out there and do that based on who we've got out there. Harry Collier, again, he's another must-win. Isaac actually he's already confirmed chase, so I guess he's not done enough races or whatever, but this is definitely a must-win situation for Harry Collier. And based on the paint, well, he's not even at full throttle, look. I wonder if that's a wheel or a pad issue. Look at his throttle trace as he comes out of the final corner here. It's hit it now. But it was only hitting about sort of 95% throttle before. That sounds like a small difference, but if you're not able to go full throttle, that's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, perhaps just running a very, very low downforce and just not very confident on the throttle. That would be a strange one. Matt Shepherd now
keep
out.
An eye on that throughout the race. It's doing that again on that in lap. It's doing it on the in lap as well. Maybe it's just a graphical thing, but that's not hitting full throttle very easily. So I wonder if he does have equipment issues.
Call that an excuse for the rest of the season. But Matt Shepherd now out there, and he'll be looking at getting a result like we saw last season, where he managed to finish on the podium. He is under the cut-off line, and it's a must-win situation for him. And I'm surprised to see Matt in a must-win. Only 33 points, because it feels like he's been up there fighting for podiums for over a couple of races this season, but he's 71 points behind Yuri in the current regular season standings. So shows you the gap of what can happen if you maybe choose your strategy right or wrong. But Matt Shepherd now coming up towards the Variante Alta, and you can really ride these curbs and get away with it. You just have to make sure you keep all four wheels within or at least one wheel within the black stuff, and basically the rest of it you can go mountain climbing over the rest of the curbs. But up to the final corner, and what can Matt Shepherd do up to the line? It's going to be challenging around about the 16-17s. It's a 17.217, puts him a current P2, but still a way off of Risky's time.
And Wasabi out there invalidated, so not the best run there. So shall we move on to Lesty then, as he heads through that first sort of Tamburello section, still decked out in all the pink. And again, look at him, it's always interesting to see how people sort of apply the brakes around here, because he's actually stabbing the brake, and I think we've seen this a few times. Never really worked. I feel like it was a tactic we saw. We pointed out in Mexico, I want to say last season, where everyone was just stabbing the brakes and it wasn't really working. And well, it's Lesty's technique at the moment is he clatters the curves. I know you say you can mountain climb over them, but it'll ruin the floor if you do that throughout the race, especially through here, the Charles Leclerc chicane, although that's been taken relatively well by Lesty. And only two more corners to go. There's a car in front, that's Matt Shepherd. Shouldn't get in the way. Hits the apex. Easy to spin through the exit if you do a Mazepin and just lip it a little bit wide, but Lesty, that's going to be a quick time. It should go P2. And indeed it does.
Yeah, not bad there for Matt Lester. And now over to Newgarden, who's not running the livery that I thought he was going to run. He was meant to be running the Joseph Newgarden livery for the Indy 500. I think he's going to hold off until the end of May, which would make sense. But now up towards the third sector. And what can Matt Roseman do? He's not really had the season he was after. He's positioned under the cut-off line, but conversations that we've had, it looks as though he will be semi-happy in the chase. The chase is looking relatively easy if you're someone that's been to the Championship 5 before, which Matt Roseman, of course, last season. Up to the line, this is 17.53 once puts him in the current P5. Not a great lap. Can it be beaten by Jacko?
Well, Jacko, who does sit on the bubble, only 2 points behind Baza, though, mind you, so he may even just focus himself on beating Baza, and he will maybe have to worry about what happens behind him. But, he should be in. 8 points is a big enough gap, but you never really know in this series, and I think, again, Jacko will be sitting there thinking if he doesn't make it into the playoffs in his own league again, he was in the Championship 5 last season as well. So, he'd expect to do quite well. And as he crosses the line, P2, yeah, just keep that up, basically, and I think he'll be good. But let's see how Baza does, his, as opposed to sort of potential direct competition, if things come down to it later on.
Yeah, and not a great qualifier is Baza, and I'm sure he'll agree with me there. He was saying that he qualified, I think it was something like a P4 back in TGP earlier in the season as well, and that was his best qualifying position for a while. So not a great one-lap specialist, much like myself. And what can he do around this circuit as he makes it through the Variante Outer? And just a few more corners left to go as he heads down now towards the Ravazza at turn 14 and 15, or technically 13 as well, as he overlooks those flats that everyone wants to live in. And around the final corner, what can Baza do as he comes up to the line? It's going to be about a 17 or 18. It's not a great lap. It's an 18.4, puts him down in P7.
He took a right good look at those flats, didn't he? He nearly came to a stop. It is something that would be worth pointing out for lap 1 and stuff like that. People are watching it versus qualifying laps, just seeing how much they're struggling at that penultimate corner, because a few of them are slowing down so much because they don't want to throw themselves wide for the second part. But perhaps sending it through there, you could see that coming and causing a collision later on. But we'll see how they get on, as Jess is the other driver other than Jamie Bromley to get through into the playoffs without having a race win, so purely just on points. Qualifies 7th for now. Driver in 5th place in the championship on points.
So she'll be relatively happy, of course, as you say, as she's got through, qualified on points. Danny Quinn has gone for an ultra low downforce setup, and he's running no front wing at all. So that's not going to help him on his quali lap. And I'm sure it'll be mighty quick in the straight, but it's probably not going to help him around this section here. So Quinn has obviously had a mishap on his outlap, and he won't mind. He's already qualified for playoffs. He, of course, was a little bit upset when he heard the likes of Kyle was racing, but after seeing that lap, I don't think you need to worry at all. So Quinn can actually.
Nice looking car.
who's his?
Michel Goris. This is becoming like the cult favourite.
You're a bit
love this.
You're a bit of a red and yellow fiend, though. I've seen you've previously liked MK Bourne's red and yellow look.
I love MK Bourne's red and yellow. I love a good red and yellow, and this is like, the black trims on it. It's like Ferrari if they went full on shiny. And I don't know. I jam with this. I hope he never changes it. It's so nice. The helmet design with it as well. Nice and simple. Nice and red. And a big fan.
And this man is on his Joker this week. So what can he do from P3? So still a way off of Risky's time. They're 4 tenths behind Risky. And that leaves us with 2 more drivers left to go. We've got Splinter now making his way around the circuit, and Jamie Bromley, who will be currently sitting P2 in the regular season points, he knows that if he wants to win the regular season and take the lion's share of the extra playoff points that you get, he's going to have to win the race and hope that Yuri either crashes out or finishes no more than within 2 points. So he's not going to do it by taking that line through the Variante Outer, however. With the stages on lap 8 and lap 16. Oh, and that line as well. I think is this an attempt to invalidate so he can start at the back? This is Jamie Bromley's weird obsession with wanting to start at the back. Yeah.
It's incredible how difficult he find it to invalidate, though. I mean, you could cut nearly everything there. Track limits have obviously always been a little bit dodgy in the last sector, but interesting. Okay.
So I just don't get it. I really don't get, especially somewhere like here where you're not overtaking unless it's on the straight, unless it's a really semi decent lunge.
Well, it could be doing it for our service to give us something to watch. I mean, there have been races last week. He nearly got out to the front. Speaking of which, we've got Yuri. Now I've got a public apology to make to Yuri because I believe I tried to suggest he was going to be using Rosenqvist's Indy 500 livery, which obviously makes no sense whatsoever because, of course, he's a massive Alex Rossi fan. Don't ask me why I forgot that, but I do apologise, and I'm hoping as a result of that apology you'll not go fastest. He went fastest. By only 0.02 though.
Get him out of this tier.
And, well, to be fair, that'll be... Well, I was going to say, actually, risky as well as Cup Series level, isn't he? So I can't even try and say, well, look, he's close to risky, because they're both really Cup Series.
I mean, this does kind of... This does back up your point. Yeah, exactly. This does back up your point of you saying, if Jacko had put his foot down at the start of this season, look at where he'd be. So...
Well, that's his own fault. Although, saying that, P3 on the grid, he'll be very happy with that, because it gives him plenty of margin for his sort of push for qualifying for the playoffs. And Michel Goris in 4th also will be very happy with that. And he gets to view that race from the onboard of a beautiful car as well. No wonder he's doing so well.
So we go into this one, Yuri on pole ahead of Risky, and of course back on the second row of the grid you've got Jacko and Michel Goris, so plenty of big hitters at the front of this one. So Yuri takes it at 16.455. Let's just compare that to his time in Cup. So it is slightly faster. He managed to take just a shadow over a 10th off of his time that he did last Thursday. Risky in P2, Jacko P3, Michel Goris in P4. Then we've got Matt Lester and Matt Shepherd on the 4th row grid in 5th and 6th. Waste back in 7th with Newgard and 8th. Jess and Bazza lock out the top 10. And then back in 11th and 12th we've got King and Mick Schumacher. Harry Collier, Quinn with his broken front wing recovers to 14th. Kyle on the pad in 15th. And then Splinter, Rico and Thomas Nevitt without times. And Jamie Bromley handicapping himself once again. Could be winning races, but unfortunately likes to start at the back and fight his way through. I mean, it works if you get to a Championship 5, but even then, I mean, you just get it sorted. He's got the pace to be winning races, but he spends half the time wasting his time with people that are a second or two slower a lap than he is. But that's just me. It's not a strategy I'd employ, but no. He will be looking to adding his name as being perhaps a 7th in 8 races or 8 race winners. We've had 6 winners out of 7 races so far. Only Yuri has taken 2, both in Japan and in Spa. We've had Matt Lester at the opening race of the season, then Yuri. Ben Harritt with his first ever JACKOCAR win in Kia that became the second ever Kia race last week when he was promoted after Kieran stupidly broke the rules and protested for far too long about the fact that he hadn't.
This is the thing that annoys me, because missing last week's Cup race, I actually really didn't want to miss it. And now I'm even more annoyed I missed it, because obviously that is Ben Harritt's winner. And I think there'll be a point in every single race before Ben Harritt wins that we're saying Ben Harritt's going to win a race one day, and we can't wait to be there when it happens. And I missed it.
Yeah.
And it actually does really annoy me. So I'll also say now, congratulations! Thank goodness you finally won.
And he
race.
actually, and do you know what? I genuinely think he deserved it on that one. I mean, Jake obviously would have won it if he hadn't had the multiple penalties, but he almost doesn't count because he's almost too fast for Cup. But
no, it's weird how that's happened, hasn't it? Because he went from being the underdog that stole a championship in season 5 with a
it's insane.
double overtake to dominating the whole thing. It's a bit like Verstappen, really, isn't it? Where he locks into a championship in the last lap and then suddenly he's just dominating the sport.
Yeah. I mean, and all it takes
no
is...
No offence to Verstappen fans, but you get the analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. All it takes is a little bit of cheating and you get there. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course, as Kieran was demoted. I mean, Kieran was arguing that for way too long, and as anyone that was in the Cup chat will be able to see from my video, he even knew at the time what he did was illegal. So
kind of naughty.
Yeah, and he had the nerve to argue. He went onto the rules. He was like, "It says you can't do it under the safety car. It doesn't say anything about the VSC." I was like, "Shut up, Kieran." But
I mean, thanks for trying, but give up.
Oh, he's already won a race so far. He's had nothing to gain from it either.
I know. He's just taking away from other people's joys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had to sit and watch you when you were an annoying little child, deliberately crashing yourself into walls to try and give yourself a faint chance at a title you were never going to win anyway. And now you're nicking first wins off people just because you broke a rule. You knew you broke a rule. You tried to claim you didn't break the rule under the right circumstances. Very childish.
Absolutely. Do you know what?
Shamed yourself.
I know. I was almost like we should be building up to this Kia race, but I'm having far too much fun just proclaiming that Kieran is banned for the league. You know what happens when you're banned for the league.
You get forced to hand some weird American dude some golden envelopes from the floor, like.
That's true. Oh, you wait for the build up this season, guys. Right, so we have got 32 laps ahead of us here at Imola, and we've got Yuri from Risky, Jacko from Michelle Goris. We've got everyone lining up in the comments. Good to see you all enjoying it, guys. 13 of you watching. Who's going to win? Let us know. Strategy, well, Yuri's gone for the medium. So is Jacko, Michelle. So is Bazza. So is Quinn and Kyle. Thomas Nevitt's gone on the hard tyres. Interesting, seeing as everyone's got to do 2 stops, apart from Michelle Goris, who has started on the mediums. Jamie Bromley elected to start from the back, and he's gone onto a set of softs, so he's gone for the normal strategy, but put himself at the back. So, never mind. Yuri gets himself disqualified. So does Jacko. That's going to put them a couple of inches back in their grid slot. And so does Jamie Bromley. That's very late indeed. Apparently it's already lap 2. Trust me, that'll go down to lap 1 in a second, as Thomas Nevitt unfortunately drops out as we go green here in Imola. And it's a good getaway from the P2 man. Risky gets a fantastic getaway. Yuri has had a massive snap and already dropped down a number of positions. He's going to get swamped surely on either side, as Matt Shepard goes one side, Waste goes the other side, and he's going to have to give up the position to Lesty and almost to Newgarden, who tried to go around the outside of him but climbs over the rumble strips. And around goes Matt Lester. So kicked the curb, spun the car around, and that might bring out a VSC if he can't get it spun around in time. Looks as though he's got going, but we are back to green, but a dreadful start from the upholstered, so already down to P7.
And you'll notice that was Kanan there, getting himself up into P6 already, passing Yuri, so he's had a terrific start. And we'll see how he gets on throughout the rest of the race. A lot of people abusing the track limits at the top of the hill. I do believe that will actually give you warnings, so keep an eye out for the penalties. I think the penalties are going to be a big factor tonight with all the chicanes and all the really inviting chances to mess it up and just cut them or extend the exits. So 32 laps, like I say, it's a long 32 laps if you're going to be doing that. And Jacko holding that P2 at the moment, like I say, he's not going to really be too interested in the win. Well, he will be, but in terms of the championship, this is more than good enough, because with Bazadine at 11th, he'll be absolutely fine to get through. He'll overtake him in the championship and be qualifying there through in 9th. And Matt Roseman needs to beat, well, Bazza by 10 points. He's not doing that at the moment, only in 8th place. So we'll need to keep an eye on his progress. Nearly involved in the accidents, as we saw through turn 2, was bouncing all over the curbs, hoping there's no floor damage there, because that could really ruin his evening. But that's sort of where we stand at the minute. Risky has just taken off. And Michel Garis actually as well, the Joker, he'll be very happy to sit where he is at the moment as well.
Marco Schneider is currently... Well, his internet looks like it's on Jupiter. He is absolutely pinging around the circuit, and that is holding up Thomas Nevitt, Jess, and Jamie Bromley. Jamie, this is exactly what you should have been worried about. If you start at the back with people that you find it hard to race against, that is your issue. So he's going to have to work his way past a car that is effectively almost invisible on circuit as Rico is closing in Bazza. Is he going to make a move into the Variante outer? Thinks better of it. He's on better tyres compared to Bazza's mediums, and he's going to have to wait until the main straight and use a little bit of battery. Of course, DRS not enabled yet, so these guys are going to have to wait for it. And one of those guys having to wait is Michel Goris chasing down Jacko, as you say, Risky has absolutely cleared off on those soft tyres. 2.7 seconds already in the lead of this one. Michel closing in on Jacko. Doesn't look as though he's going to be close enough to make a move down into the first two corners, as he's already down almost 50% of battery usage. So he's used a lot in these opening laps as they make their way through Tamburello and now into the second sector as they come up towards Tosa. And well, for these guys, it's all about getting in the rhythm, and the rhythm is not what Marco Schneider's done. Of course, with his poor internet, he's managed to find his way onto the gravel, and he has fallen down. That is going to help Jamie Bromley, Jess, and Lesty, and Lesty after that spin has already closed up to the back of Jess, so that shows you just how much time they were losing behind Marco Schneider. And Marco's gone again on the exit of the Variante Villeneuve and up towards Tosa, but Michel Goris up the inside of Jacko and trying to get the move around the outside, the Variante outer. It doesn't quite get it done, and in fact the door's open now for Wace, who sends it down the inside on the exit of turn 12 and downhill is up into P3.
This will have Matt Shepherd interested, won't it? Because he's now sitting right in the back. He's the highest of the must-win drivers, I believe, in P5, but obviously you can see P2 right up there in front of him. Who knows what games Risky might play later on. I feel it would be very odd if he just went on and dominated the race, frankly, considering that you could argue he's in the wrong tier. Wace is up to second, but well, frankly, he's according to the graphic already playoff or already chased. So if he wins it, it's not gonna count basically for getting him through, from what I can tell. So
yes,
that's why we're not hyping him up massively.
Yeah,
look at this. Here comes Matt Shepherd.
He's a must-win.
He's not
he's going to go around.
That's going to be round. Championship potentially.
Oh, two cars around. Kyle goes around as well. We've got stereo
change things then.
Stereo spins. We're almost four wide as the cars recover back up the hill, and that's Thomas Nevitt and Rico that had to get out the throttle as they were met by two cars pointing in the wrong direction. These guys are going to have Matt Shepherd. He's going to have very warm tyres, and so is Kyle. And oh gosh, Kingan just avoided disaster there. And well, all hell was broken loose. Lesty, as you say, Lesty's gone again. So these guys are really getting caught out on the bumps and the rumble strips. So perhaps running the cars a little bit too low, and they're getting upset by all these bumps. Into the box comes Risky, a 5.4 second advantage over the first 5 laps.
So hold on, just to be clear then here, is Wace winning this race doesn't do anything, right?
No, he has not attended enough races to get in. So
nor have I.
True. We'll find out if you're able to turn up for playoffs either.
Yeah. Well, we'll need to find out soon enough. Michel Goris has just passed Jacko, and recovering well from what has been probably quite a stressful 2 laps for him. And well, if he can get himself past Wace, he should be able to get into a good rhythm and realistically should be winning the race. We'll see. We'll see how that all works out. It never really goes the way you expect it to. An unlucky safety car at a bad time could always mess things up. Thomas Nevitt, by the way, has made his way through half of the field now on these hards. Obviously, he's right at the bottom of the championship. He's the lowest driver who has points. And that's Michel Goris. Round the outside, tricky to make this one work. But luckily, Wace has given him the room. And, well, the issue is actually he'll end up going right back past him. Are they going to muck about for DRS? I think that's exactly what they're going to do. The detection point is halfway through the braking zone here. So, who plays chicken? Michel Goris plays chicken, and he seems to have done it relatively well. I have a feeling Wace is about to see many cars come past him, or if he's got any sense, he'll pit. But he hasn't done so. He's run out of ERS. He's going to have 2 cars on him who have DRS, and surely they will both get past. Jacko's done a very clever thing. He's saved nearly all his ERS. That should pay dividends for him later on. So saying that, he's not really committed for the overtake, has he? On
No,
Waste?
he would have got a corner cut warning for that as well.
Yeah, he could have just gone past it. I think he's realised that now, and he's going to try it into a much more precarious situation in the Villeneuve chicane. Climb all over these yellow curbs. You don't want to be touching them at all if you can get away with it. And I always worry you'll get some floor damage, as I say, doing that. Here's one of the best places to pick up that floor damage. And Jacko, well, he made a bit of a meal of that, but he still has 70% ERS, which I say that should pay dividends for him later on.
Interesting to see that Yuri's gone on to a set of hard tyres. Risky's gone on to a set of mediums. So we know that Michel Goris is running on his Joker strategy. So it is Michel that will be making one pit stop. It's a mandatory 2-stop for everyone else. The stages for this one are lap 8 and lap 16 as Rico picks up 3 seconds. He's down in P16. Jacko is now clearing way, so Weiss's tyres clearly going off for those soft tyres. He did have a good run at the start of this one, but falling off the back of the pack and now starting to fall into the clutches of Quinn, who's slowly getting himself up there after, of course, invalidating his quali lap. But Weiss, burning all the battery he had, stays out for another lap. He's only got a 6% battery left, so not really anything he can do here. He can, wait until he sits in this DRS as Matt Shepherd picks up a 5-second time after speeding into the pit lane. It's quite easy to do here. Unfortunately, the pit lane is, well, the limiter comes on a little bit earlier what you feel it would do, but Weiss kind of all over the place trying to keep up with Jacko. You will be using up those tyres, but what this will do is effectively just allow Quinn to slowly make his way up to the back of him, and as soon as he gets up to the back of him, he's going to get DRS, and that's going to put him on the back of Jacko. So it's not what Jacko wants at all. He could ideally do with Weiss just getting out of the way and leaving a little bit of a gap between himself and Quinn, but as they make it the way through the Piratella down into Acqua Minerale, one of the best bits on the circuit, as you climb back up the hill towards the Variante Alta, and Weiss he's outside of that 1 second window now, so surely he's going to dive into the pit lane. There's no real point staying out any time longer. He's cutting corners left, right and centre at the moment, and Quinn is now within that 1 second window, so Quinn will get DRS even if Weiss boxes, and Matt Shepherd unfortunately compounds this last lap by picking up a 3-second time penalty. It makes it 8 seconds for him. So does Weiss jump into the pit lane? Yes, he does. Get it slowed down in time. The line will come up just there, so he does. But that does release Quinn now, who is 2 seconds behind Jacko.
Does appear that Yuri is quite slow out there on these new tyres, because I think he's lost about 2 seconds to Risky in just a lap. Don't know if he's running around with any floor damage himself. Obviously, didn't have the best start. Maybe an older kerfuffle got some damage. Right, so he's just set at 20.5. What's Risky doing? If the game will ever let me into the race director. I don't know, we'll just see what they're doing. Okay, so Risky's actually only at 19.8. So maybe it's just a tyre warm-up. Actually, that's probably what it is, isn't it? Tyre warm-up on those hards must be atrocious. But the gap was about 8.8 when they came out of the pits, and now it's more like 11. So
Weiss has come out
Yuri is
less than a second behind Yuri, so he's done very nicely with that pit stop. He's not lost too much time because, of course, Risky is your net race leader at the moment. Of course, Michel Goris has still got his stop to make, so he will have the overall race lead if we don't see a safety car. If we see a safety car come in the second half of the race, of course, then it all gets null and voided. But of course, he still does make that one stop. If you win on your Joker, you get an extra handful of playoff points to go. Of course, this is the last opportunity of doing that, of getting all the bonuses from the regular season, as Weiss trying to stay within the DRS of Yuri, and on these brand new medium tyres compared to Yuri's hard tyres, he should be able to do so. It's just about keeping it within the white lines, which is something Weiss is struggling with at the moment, as Thomas Nevitt gets passed by Risky for P5 and P6. Thomas, who's going to be doing a long stint on the hards and probably trying to do 2 stints on softs towards the end of the race, which is a bold strategy because it means you will be slower, and everyone else has made their stops already will be closing up and closing in on you. But behind, Splinter and Newgarden change positions. Splinter goes now up into P10, drops Newgarden back to P11. Newgarden not really anything to fight for unless he finishes in the podium positions. It looks as though he is heading for a chase campaign. Jamie Bromley, as Marco Schneider gets another 3 seconds. Jamie Bromley second in the regular season. However, there's no chance of him winning the regular season if he has the man from the Netherlands up in P8, and that's Speedway Racer, otherwise known as Yuri Hasselager. Yellow flags are out at the Ravatza, the first of the Ravatzas. I think that was for Michael Schneider getting out the way. But we've got a bit of field spread. We're only 10 laps in. We've got quite a bit of field spread here.
That's a good way to describe it. So Michel Garis has picked up a playoff point now, hasn't he? So obviously with the Joker, he should realistically pick up both of them, and he'll end up possibly getting the one for getting all the laps led, or the most laps led. Sorry, if things work out for him, as that's an accident actually for.
Might be a safety
Michel
car,
Garis.
and
that
it is
going to be a safety car. Sorry, for Marco Schneider, not Michel Garis. He's leading the race, but no, Marco Schneider. That's a safety car. Now, it doesn't leave Michel Garis in as good a position, because you can't even make your, well, that rule doesn't count, does it? Anyway, I keep forgetting that the Cup Series is the only one that has the pit stop under safety car rule, so this will let the whole field catch up to him. But I mean, on the Joker, I mean, he still only has to make one more stop. Jacko behind has the whole field catch up. He has to make 2 of them, so it's a lot worse for him. But I think Michel would have been hoping that all this would happen in the second half of the race once he's got it all out of the way. But yeah, I guess the goal is still lead until get those 2 playoff points, get onto the hards, and just hope that they work. Unless you can somehow do medium to soft here, but I highly doubt you can do that.
As Isaac gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, and just to note, I'm sure everyone watches this race back afterwards is competing. Hopefully you do. Matt Shepherd, I'm talking to you directly here. That was the most half-assed move into the Variante Alto I have ever seen, as he just kind of drifted alongside Kingen and didn't really make a move, and then just very, very faintly pushed him around the corner. There's a tyre barrier having an absolute party on the outside there. Hopefully that doesn't get involved. We've seen that happen before.
Space. As inviting as that massive, playful tyre barrier looks, it will absolutely mess you up.
Yes. I mean, it would be fun. Well, let's try.
It would be like
Yuri, have a go. You're not doing anything.
Kaya when you need him.
True. Oh, he was probably Kaya, and he was probably one to put the tyres there.
That could be a good point. Actually.
But Yuri's in for a set of softs. He's gone for a different strategy. He's decided to go for a non-mandatory. Strap on a set of tyres that will be very quick, but will put him to the back of the grid with Matt Lester and Rico as well. Matt Lester, who is very close to being lapped, these two. The safety car was, well, almost saved them because that stop was very close to putting them a lap down. So they've just about held on to the lead lap. So Matt Lester, who has had a couple of trips across the gravel, and Rico equally, who is in the chase. It looks as though it's going to be his first chase campaign. And, they've now got Yuri for company in P15. So you watch Yuri on the restart. He will be very quick, but he's got to get past a heap of drivers that have got penalties to their name. We've got the likes of Kyle, Harry, Kingen and Matt Shepherd that have got some time penalties. If I was Matt Shepherd, I would have pitted, because I know he's got a 5-second time penalty, so you might as well serve it.
Thomas Nevitt into the pits.
For a non-mandatory.
But yeah, it must mean he really doesn't like these hards. But I suppose, would you rather lose, 4, 5, 6 places now, or do it on the restart? Because I suppose he'll argue he'll lose them position on the restart anyway, whereas if he's on some more attacking tyres, he can make a couple of those places back up before he makes the first stop. But yeah, I suppose that's the ultimate sort of risk you take, starting a race on the hards. Although is he going to come out in front of Yuri? No.
I think he actually let him go.
Yeah, I think he did as well. Yeah. Oh, he's going to go off the road now as well. Don't pick up a penalty on the first corner.
See, this is where, and this is my gripe with several Kia drivers. They're far too cautious. Way too cautious. In this case of, say, like with Thomas. So if you start on the hards, you have to commit to that. You have to commit. If it's a safety car restart, if you're concerned that you're going to be swamped by a load of cars behind you on nicer and grippier tyres, then just get your elbows out. Make it hard for them to overtake. You're at a circuit where it is naturally quite difficult to have another car come alongside you unless they're like 40-50% alongside you into the braking point. He can utilize his battery and get rid of it. So all you've done now is handicap yourself, because he's still going to have to make 2 pit stops, and he's now at the back of the grid again. So it was areas like that even there was no front wing change, so stick it out, just see what happens. You might as well get involved in it. I hate all of this wanting to, like, thinking about race like for the greater good of everyone else rather than for yourself. You have to be inherently selfish when you're racing, and I mean, it's the same thing for, if you think about it in I'm sure in the way that esports teams do. I mean, not the professionals, because they're all boring and just listen to other people. But if you're racing in, say, Team Speed or ART or ERT or plenty of others that we've seen come and go in JACKOCAR, whilst you want to do the best for the team, at the end of the day, you want to win. And if you don't want to win, then there's no point competing. And I know that no matter what position he is in, Yuri will want to win this race. So he thinks that going on to soft tyres at this point will give him the best opportunity. He would have done that for the case of, I want to win this race, rather than I want to elevate a Risky or a Newgarden. So it's an interesting call, but I just think, I think it's the difference here between Kia and between Cup is that sort of ruthless selfishness of victory, or of wanting to go out and snatch a race win rather than sort of like just having a drive with your mates.
Yeah, I suppose, there's a lot of sort of mentality differences we see here, don't we? And it's interesting, though, we actually would end up seeing that from some of the Cup Series drivers here as well. I mean, we'll always bring up Jess's aggression. I'm surprised racing in both tiers, she doesn't actually almost see the difference. And ends up being cautious anyway. But the problem is, I'll turn around and agree with you about the whole caution thing, but I'd probably actually be doing the same thing that Thomas Nevitt's doing. Because my problem is, right, I don't want to be swamped at a restart. I know there's Thomas Nevitt, but have you seen the first chicane here? You're not going to get swamped. You're going to crash, because you'll have 2 free cars coming past you. And in a chicane like that, you will have an accident when you're on a tyre that poor. So maybe that's his thinking there. But yeah, falling to the back of the grid for it, though. Yeah, I suppose you could argue not the best choice, but oh well. They've made their decisions now, haven't they? As we prepare for a restart. The restart line is at the pit lane commitment line, which is, coming up in a moment. I'm sure Gareth will point that out when he takes us through the restart. Yes,
it will be Michel Goris. Everyone else will be speed limited. They've got to watch out. So Michel Goris will be going any time from now. There we go. And so any time from now, Jacko has been awful at restarts all season long. And once again, he proves that he's not particularly good at them. As Risky's got a good run behind, we've got Car that's gone around, and it's Splinter that has run straight into the back of someone and ended up going around. As down the inside, Risky tries to make a move on Jacko, not quite close enough, as everyone else is filtering their way through Tamburello. Baz is up to P4, of course. He's now got Kyle going around the outside, and Kyle's going to get a move done. And perhaps Kyle switched over to Wheel between quali and the race.
Michel Goris had a real problem. Here comes Jacko running outside for the race lead. This. Oh, and there's all sorts going behind us as well. Jacko now leads here in Imola, of course. He has to pit twice. Michel Goris has to pit just once. But through that field chicane, something clearly didn't quite go to plan. Risky now knows we can get past Michel Goris now. That is for genuine track position. So they can almost sort of try and ignore Jacko there, if they can manage it. And obviously Kyle's up there as well, trying to get through. But Jacko leading probably unexpectedly, especially after how poor his restart was. I didn't quite see what happened to Michel, but well, it's cost him the race lead on track.
Yeah, I'd imagine it was a very brief trip across the gravel on the exit of the Variante Villeneuve. But it does knock him down into P2. Jacko will lead a lap, and that will go on to the stats, which is all he cares about. No, it won't, because Risky's going to lead it, because he takes the lead as lap 15 starts. Jacko's into the box, and so is Michel Goris. So that now means we've got Risky from Kyle, from Quinn, Wason Bazza, and then behind Newgarden trying to close in on Bazza as well. So we've got the pair in 5th and 6th position as Newgarden. Play it careful here, Matt Roseman, because he needs to finish ahead of Bazza by quite a way, and you just need to pick your positions. You're not really going to make a move lunging down the inside of one of these corners through the Tamburello chicane. Of course, it used to be one left-hander until one fateful day in 1994, but and now into the Variante. Villeneuve and through Tosa up the outside into the Piratella. That's not a move that's going to happen. As off into Narnia goes about 4 or 5 cars, and one of those is Matt Shepard picks up another 3 seconds through his name. Kingan and Matt Shepard are fighting away. They've got Yuri, who is stuck behind this, and this is exactly what I was saying. This is the last thing you want, to be stuck behind people.
Garden sends it. Nice.
Oh, and Yuri's gone into the back of Matt Lester, who's gone into the back of Kingan and turned Kingan around. I don't think that was specifically Yuri's fault, just an accordion effect, but Kingan goes around, and unfortunately Yuri just gets caught up as all the cars checked up on each other. But Yuri now up into P9. DRS is enabled. Gosh, this is going to be chaos.
Here comes Kyle. That's just miserable to watch, isn't it? 2 Cup Series regulars fighting for a race lead. But it is Kyle who does have a penalty. Kyle does appear to have picked his pace up though on the pad.
Weirdly fast, compared to that quali pace.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? He's not missing any of the corners. He's driving just like he normally would on a wheel.
Kyle, if you can hear us, if you're on the wheel, can you just weave side to side very briefly?
That's a good point, actually. Right, if you're on a pad, just make sure you're turning into all the corners and hitting all the apexes properly. See here, make the corner. He's on a wheel.
He is.
He's on a wheel. He couldn't take any of he crashed in a straight line in qualifying.
Yuri's pointing in the wrong direction and the safety car is out.
Safety car. He's
got no front wing, so he's gone out through the Piratella. So he's clearly either collected someone, or he's he's just got off onto the rumble strips on the outside corner, upset the car, and put it into the wall. We've seen that happen before. Well, but that's
for anyone who's excited about the championship implications, sadly, Splinter's only crashed on the last restart, so that crash actually really doesn't make much of a difference. It's a shame that Michel Gorge is 22 points off, because even though he's sat in 14th at the minute, he doesn't have to pit again. And this safety car will bring him back into it, but on the hards. Actually, do you know what? This is, again, if he's got another set of mediums handy, throw the extra points for the Joker and all the rest of it, but you don't have to take another mandatory. Surely you want off these hards.
I think.
He thought about it.
I think at this point, if you're Michelle, we've seen. I mean, do you remember Leroy and Yuri in Cup? They went all the way on hard tyres. They've done. I think it was 19 laps or so. They won on hard tyres. So, whilst like you say, being on mediums, getting to the end from here would be nice. I don't think it's out of the question.
He's at the back already, though. Do you know what I mean? It's just
But
for Leroy's situation, it was stay out or lose the race. Whereas here, it's stay. You lose 3 pole positions. He would have come out in front of Yuri, obviously. So he would have lost 2 places.
I think he's looking at if there is a possibility that he can win this race, because ahead of him he's got 5 drivers that have got time penalties. So he's only really got to overtake now, 7 or so cars. So you'd like to think that he can clear the likes of Jess and of Kingan, of Rico and people ahead of him. He really needs, heading into the playoffs, to close in on Yuri's overall advantage with playoff points. Yuri will be coming in this week with 25, Michelle back on 12. So already Yuri has a 13-point advantage. So if the small chance at the moment that Michelle can win here on the Joker, of course it does give him a heap more points going into the playoffs with bonuses. So strategic call. Strategic call. Is he just getting Yuri or Leroy Hasselager in the party chat shouting at him that he can do it because he did it? We'll see. But as Leroy says in the chat, why is Kyle so fast? That is a very good question, my friend.
It is a good question. If anyone watched this qualifying lap, you will have noticed it. It was like watching someone driving on a keyboard. Particularly when he crashed out of the exit of turn Turn 9. He crashed actually, sorry, through turn 10, which is a flat-out kink, and he drove straight into the wall on the inside. So the fact that he's now able to drive smoothly, effectively, without Jacko being able to see it, leading the race, I don't know. It's really annoying actually, because it does sort of wreck the race a little bit when you have the faster drivers coming in who are not really meant to be here, say they're going to race on pad, quite clearly not be racing on pad, and win the race. Because, as you say, with Michel Gorris's Joker, he could really do with Kyle clearing off, really, couldn't he?
Yeah, does Kyle want to add his name to the list of drivers of one in Kia and in Cup?
Disgraced themselves. Like, it's like, literally, it's like if Max Verstappen cleared off to F2 for a sprint race, you know what I mean? It's just a bit of a shame when Jack... But I get it, it's for numbers and stuff, but, I mean... We would do... I'd much prefer a race of 15 drivers who are actually meant to be here than with a few bonuses who are way quicker. That's just my sort of 2 cents on it. But oh well, Kyle, I'm sure he won't complain too much until he hits something.
Well, he's going to have to tackle a restart now, as everyone's according up behind him. Risky's going to be in P2. Risky's going to have a run, but he's on older tyres. Quinn is back in 7 laps as well, so he's equaled Kyle. Right, any time from the line that appears at this DRS, as you go any time from now, and it's a good restart from Kyle, it's a good restart from Risky as well, who stayed with Kyle behind, changes position as we see both Michelle already trying to go side by side with Jacko and Jess, as people also go 3 wide down the main straight in towards the Tamburello. And Kyle gets a good restart, stays ahead of Risky. Quinn holds on to P3, Waste in P4, Newgarden in P5, and we've got a car around, and it's Bazza that is dropping down. And
Bazza, who's not even pitted once yet. This is... Oh! How is Thomas Nevitt still in the race? He's taken Kanan off, but how on earth they're both still in the race? That was a big old whack into the back. And, well, somebody survived it. Wes and Quinn are side by side, fighting for third. I don't think we're going to get a safety car or even a VSC, so those two who crash are just going to have to be stuck at the back. But yeah, jeez, they're lucky to keep in that. But that's Bazza now in trouble. If, say, Newgarden, who sits in 5th place right now, can do anything. Because Bazza, I mean, he's got to pit twice. Already having issues on this restart lap. He's, yeah, it could be a pretty tricky day for him. But at least if he finishes, he'll get points for it. So, you know, getting to the flag could still be important for him here today.
Yeah.
If Gordon gets any higher up. Although, even saying that, though, he needs to do 10 points on him. It's not exactly easy.
Risky in for a second stop, so is Newgarden, Quinn,
Fielder,
and, well, yeah, as you say, pretty much everyone coming in now.
I suppose this is, again, obviously, yes, you get the extra player points to win the race, but now Michel Gorris is up to 5th. Knowing all those people are going to pit in front of him, do you know what I mean? He would just be so much better if he was on those same tyres as they are. But as you say, it's difficult to overtake here. Maybe this will work out for him. I hope it does. We always hope a Joker works out. It doesn't happen as often as you'd think. But yeah, 5th place for now. I suppose he's got clear air, hasn't he, to behind. So yeah, we'll see. Are Splinter's 2 stops mandatory? Obviously, he crashed on that last restart, so he might actually have gained from it in the end.
I mean, he's lucked his way into so many positions this season. He's almost at my level of S-housing his way up into positions that he shouldn't be.
If you're having a bad day, I mean, if he can be at the front at the end, hasn't won a race yet this season, would be a good time to get his first, possibly nick a regular series championship. Not going to happen, is it? But it's worth pointing out that he's there.
So pit stops still need to be made for the front 4. They've still got some stops to do. Michel Gorris, of course, on his Joker. Everyone else on mandatories, mandatory 2-stop, apart from Michel Gorris. P5 is, so Bazza around. He's down in P16 on his outlap on the soft, so not a great way to treat those brand new tyres. So Michel should cycle to the front of this one as Splinter clears Harry Collier for P6.
He'll end up second. He will end up second.
So the issue here for Michel Gorris is, in comparison to when Leroy did this with his win in Cup last season, is that he had Yuri and myself as blockers on that restart with 2 laps left to go. That basically, I mean, I think I drove around in 4th gear, holding off J-Luke and some of the other drivers behind, and it gave them about a 2.5 second advantage. Is that if a safety car comes out and Michel is leading and he's got Splinter behind him rather than say a Risky or anyone behind him like that might be able to play rear gunner, then that's going to be a lot harder to hold on to the position than say if he's fighting with some of the guys in his stable. So Splinter with some work to do to close in, but 5.6 seconds now to the back of Michel Goris, who's 1.2 seconds off the back of Lesty, who's still staying with Matt Shepherd, but Matt Shepherd now in. Lesty stays out, so Matt Shepherd is going to go onto a set, I imagine, of soft tyres to go to the end. They will be hurting by the end of this race, and it's a set of medium tyres. He's going to serve that 5-second time penalty as well, so he's going to drop down quite a number of positions, but he will be still in the race, which is good to see because it's something that he has struggled with, picking up decent points later on in the race. And perhaps one of the things that Matt will be working on for next season, if he does return to JACKOCAR, will be strategy. His strategy calls this season have been politely woeful. He just doesn't make the pit stops at the right time. He really needs to work on just min-maxing the pit stop strategy as I see the tyre parry on the inside there, still having an absolute dance. But Quinn closing in on Risky now. Quinn on the soft tyres, Risky on the medium tyres. So Quinn will have the advantage in this early stint. However, he's going to have to go a long way on those soft tyres that do tend to fall away after about 7 or 8 laps.
Yeah, that's going to be, I suppose, 2 bursts of those, isn't it? But, will he get, well, maybe not, we'll see. But, just checking up on Michel Goris, the gap to Splinter is staying healthy. Because obviously you will see more tyre drop off from Splinter than you will from Michel. So, I mean, if he's doing well now, then he might actually be okay for the rest of the race. Yellow flag was briefly out for Thomas Nevitt, but he's recovered. It is looking pretty routine towards the end of the race now, but if you get a safety car, then that's where it will turn. And we'll need to keep our eye on that.
We do. 14 positions gained for Kyle off the start after moving from pad to wheel. Wace into P2, moving up 5 positions. Lesty up P2 at the moment, but it is Splinter that's made up 11. He is the biggest jumpers of those that does not have to stop again. So Michel Goris in P4 is your net race leader. Splinter in P5 is net P2, and Risky in P7 is P3. So Risky's really lost out since leading this one by 5.5 seconds after 5 laps. So Risky's fallen back a little bit, and that safety car really didn't come at an opportune time for him. But as we look through everyone on the tyres, we've got 12 laps, 15 laps and 13 laps for the top 3. Then Michel Goris 8 laps on the hard tyres, so they'll easily go to the end. Splinter will be matching him on tyre length, however different strategies. Thomas Nevitt unfortunately leaves the race in lap 23 of 32 in the pit lane, decides that he's had enough of this regular season. He's going to chance it in the chase. We'll see if his chances pick up any more, because it's been a season to forget so far for the Scotsman, as he sits down. Is our second retirement after Marco Schneider, who was running the 2000 Stuart Ford livery tonight. We didn't see it too much because it was half-time, it was covered in dirt and gravel, but Splinter losing a little bit of time here to the guys in front. He's now 5.9 seconds down from 5.6 as Lesty has been cleared. Is that cleared by Michel Goris? I think Michel's just passed him, hasn't he? Yes, so Michel up to P3. So Michel now up to P3, 2.2 seconds now behind Wace, and Wace, who's had some solid pace tonight, but he's going to have some work to do when he goes onto a set of soft tyres, probably in a lap or two's time to run to the end.
Honestly, they're going to have to make sure they make these pit stops in good time, because the last thing you want to do is wait a couple laps too long, then have someone have a silly incident that puts a late safety car out. We do see the late safety car here somewhat often, so yeah, these pit stops better happen sooner rather than later for these guys. Top 2 though will still stay out. Lesty also will stay out, although he has done 2 stops. Are they both mandatory? remember if they were, actually.
Don't think so.
I would be surprised, but I shall have a little look.
Yeah, I mean, we could be completely wrong, and most likely are, as usual.
I am really trying to figure this out now, and I can't figure this out. I just can't figure this out.
It sounds like a song. He needs to call up Taylor Swift. Yuri making a move on Matt Roseman. He's going to sweep around the outside. Matt's not going to hold him up. There's no point. It's Yuri's very much on the charge. That spin at Piratella, losing his front wing has cost him, as we've got a yellow flag up ahead for Wace, who's Kyle that's gone around. So it's Kyle that's had the issue. The race leader has lost it at Aqua Minerale, and he's now dropped down to P4. Jacko with the 3-second time penalty as well. So Kyle losing it at the Aqua Minerale, and up towards the Variante Alta. There we go. As he's now down to P4, so not a great lap there from Kyle, who had a 5-second advantage. Is he going to dive into the pit lane? Yes, he is. So smart decision there from Kyle. Loses the position, losing track time, try and gain it back by getting an undercut on some of the guys ahead of him. Splinter in as well, so he makes his second stop. So Splinter onto a set of soft tyres. In he comes. Luckily he doesn't have to stack behind Kyle, who will be out as well. Kyle waiting, serves a 5-second time penalty as well for that. So Kyle's going to drop down a number of positions, drops down behind Splinter. So Splinter gets promoted now up into a position ahead of Kyle. Yuri is going to jump Kyle, and is he going to get Splinter? Yes, he is. So Yuri gets up past Splinter. So Splinter has got to put the pedal down, because he's got to clear Jacko, Rico, Matt Shepherd, Matt Roseman and Yuri Hasselager if he wants to get back up towards the front of this one. Some work to do at the front. Michel Goris now 1.4 seconds behind Wace, and Wace is going to have to stop again. So Michel is looking very, very handy for a Joker win tonight, and making it another Dutch Joker win here in Imola, which is becoming well, almost a regularity at the moment, with the fact that we've seen Leroy do it twice. We've seen Michel Goris on his way. He's got 3 seconds behind us. Into the box comes Wace, so that will promote MXI up, and he leads the lap as well, so he takes the lap for that one. Lesty P2.
I do believe he isn't mandatory. I do think he made his stop under the lap 9 safety car. I remembered, because he'd been off the road. As Baz is gone, now that could be an accident.
It will be a safety
car. Okay, well, well, that's bad news if you're Lesty then.
Do you know?
I think he pitted under Marcus Schneider's safety car. I knew he'd been off. I didn't know if he'd made that second pit stop, perhaps just when we weren't noticing. And it was, he did it just after the safety car came out. So I think he still has one more mandatory to do.
Do you know, I think this is almost a legit carbon copy of what happened. Oh, big crash there. Michel is out. Michel is out. He's collected the car. He's collected Baz's car.
That's just...
That was still in the middle of the circuit.
That's mind-blowing, that.
And he just came round the corner at full speed and absolutely ploughed into it. And the man that was leading the race, looked as though he was on for the win, is now out.
Right, well, the next thing on my list of tasks I should be VARing is Harry Collier good?
No, he can't be.
Because he pitted on lap 3, and when else did he pit? Let me just check. He pitted on lap 14. Was there a safety car on lap 14? Let's find out on the VAR, because he's obviously running in a podium position at the moment, and I think he's good. I think he's good.
He's got a time penalty to his name, so he has got... Let me just double check. It's one of these ones. I can never remember how to... There we go, 6 seconds. So that's a big penalty. We saw Jake get hurt massively by that 8 seconds, and this safety car that was brought out for Bazza,
because he is going to be the race leader as well. This is so annoying. Is Lesty legal? I really can't think. He can't be legal. He's not.
No, he's done 17 or so laps. He's going to have to stop again, surely.
Yeah, because this Wace is going to... Splinter is up there, so if anything happens to Yuri, that's what we'd have to be looking at. So if Yuri has any sort of incident, then Splinter is there. Because all he has to do is get past Wace, and he'll win the race, I think. And then it's about whether anything happens to Yuri that costs him the championship. Obviously, Jacko's down. Baza's going to fall behind Jacko in the standings. Newgarden is only 9th, so he'll need quite a lot. Well, he only needs to beat him by 11 points, doesn't he? How many positions... How hard do you need to finish that to get 11 points? I forget. I think we both forget.
That's a good question.
What's our point scoring system? Because
it's 20 for first and then 15 and down there, isn't it? So it's... What
are we saying? Top 6 would do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Because he'll move up to 7th with the 2 pistols, so all he'd have to do is pass a couple of cars, because he's got 3 behind that have penalties. You know what I mean? So he could also get in here.
See, this is, and I was about to say, just as Michelle crashed, that this was going to be an absolute carbon copy of Leroy's Cup Joker, where he was on hard tyres, the safety car came out on lap 27, and we had a 2-lap run to the end. Unfortunately for Michelle, he's lost that.
That's commentator's curse just by thinking, isn't it?
So Carl's partners Ellie's come in and said Carl said he had the wrong pad preset in quali. His steering was set to full lock or nothing. That's excellent. I want him to run that in Cup.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
So, yeah. Oh well, either that or he's well.
Look at the weather, by the way, Gareth. Is this why Lesty stayed out?
I did see a comment earlier at the end say rain at the end, maybe.
Maybe. Well, we've already had 3 safety cars. If Lesty can stick this out and it starts raining about now, perhaps he can make his second mandatory stop for Inters. No, that's not saying he's going to win him the race. We've seen him earlier in the season where sort of pitting late for tyres and sort of tricky conditions doesn't really pay off for you. But if it rains now, safety car comes in at the end of the next lap, perhaps. I
mean, it would have to hoon it down like Russia with Hamilton and Norris. Well, it would have to.
It really would, wouldn't it? But it's getting so dark out there. If it's going to work, it needs to start raining now, so the track's got another lap or so to get wet. Because the problem is, the safety car will come in, I think, at the end of either this lap or the next lap. We've seen it come in late before.
Rain in 5 minutes, we're being told.
5 minutes. That could be
any time now.
Yeah, exactly. That could mean anything. Safety car is going to stay out. So that means you've got lap 30. You can't pit at the end of lap 30, so you'll have to pit at the end of lap 31, will Lesty, I think. Unless he is legal, I've miscalculated, but I'm sure he has to make one more stop. And that would have to be for Inters, assuming it rains. Or it'll just be nice and boring, he'll stick the dryers on, he'll finish 10th. But we'll see. This
is where your professional commentary team of semi-professional commentator Gareth Hall and long-time Jacko commentator Owen Wyatt should have been writing down who's done mandatory and non-mandatory stops, because
to be fair, right?
I have no idea.
I feel like I've done this right, because I've gone for the race director. It says he pitted on lap 3 and lap 9. Lap 3 was green. That's fine. Lap 9 was when Marcus Schneider crashed, although for everyone else that was lap 10. But that's because Lesty had also went off on before lap 9, so he actually hadn't made it to lap 10 yet. So that's why I took a while longer looking through VAR, because I was properly confused. But then I do believe that means that Lesty's pit stop was under safety car, which means he's got to pit again. And we'll find it, if I'm right, in approximately a lap and a sector. Or he could do us all a favour and just hit something.
Yeah. So we're going to have safety car in this lap. The lights are out. Matt Lester will lead us away. He cannot follow the safety car in if he does need to pit again.
This is...
Harry Collier
on the last lap, just purely confusing.
Harry Collier the same. Owen thinks that Harry can stay out. However,
I think he's okay.
Even if he does, he's got 6 seconds of time penalty to his name and only 2 laps of racing. So this is exactly what we saw in Cup last season with the Hasselagers in first and second.
Can we just all pray very, very quickly that Yuri has some sort of horrible accident and that Splinter wins this race? For the sake of the league's integrity, we've got 2 laps to make it happen, boys. Let's go.
Right, here we go. Matt Lester, wait. You want to wait as long as possible because it's a long way down to Tamburello. He's going to hold everyone up and he's finally underway. It's a good getaway. Harry doesn't get a good jump. He's been jumped already by Wace, and then behind, who's dropping down? That's Risky that's dropping down a couple of positions as well. Newgarden, as you say, has already had an incident on his own, and into P2 goes Wace, and Wace is looking at winning this one. Oh, we've got a car around, and that's Kyle that's gone around. As restart has been perfect for Wace, and it's also gone very nicely for Splinter, who's just jumped up past. He's been tagged and around, and he's been collected by Yuri.
Can you believe it? The whole field's crashing here. Yuri somehow survives through all that. He just gave his challenge rival a little nudge on the way past. This puts Risky back in the net lead. Unless Lesty is okay. But I don't think he is. I don't know if he is. We'll find out in a moment if he is. But as of right now, he's fighting off Wace, and then Risky's a couple of seconds behind that. So, I mean, I don't actually know the situation. Splinter is now out of it, so Yuri is officially your regular series champion, and that's really disappointing. Wace is overtaking Lesty, but if Lesty's legal, he'll still lead this race based on the fact that Wace has a penalty. And I tell you what, Wace is proper still in the apex. If Lesty can hold anything up a little bit, then he will have a chance to sort of... Yeah, he's in the pits, okay. To sort of hold back Risky, who will move up into the net race lead.
And a 5-second time penalty for Matt Lester. So Risky now in pole position to win this one. Wace has that time penalty. He's 1.6 seconds ahead. So will Risky win his second race in the Kia Series this season? The man that is... Newgarden gets 5-second time penalty as well, as everyone's starting to fall apart. Yuri has gone around... Kingan's gone around trying to go side by side with Yuri. So he's lost it as everything is happening. How is Yuri in P4?
Really funny. You've got a chance to do the funniest thing ever here and let Wace win the race, thinking he's on a must-win. Just saying. He'd had to do it by 5 seconds, but this actually could... They could muck about here and give Jacko a free win, couldn't they? As the rain falls, a bit too late for Lesty. But there's manipulation that could happen here. Just saying. But it looks like it's going to be a speed 1-2.
Jacko could win this one. I mean, it makes no difference anyway. But as he's going to skate across, and Yuri's eyes are going to light up. But Wace is going to make his way down towards the final record as the Ravazza, and he's going to come into the final corner. He's going to win it on track, and it's been a good race for Wace. Unfortunately, that time penalty is going to hurt him, and he's going to drop down a couple of positions. Across the line does come Wace, but your race winner is Sullivan Lewis for a second time this season. Jacko is going to hold on to a P3, and he's going to, in fact, drop down. It's Yuri, so it's speed 1-2, Wace P3, Jacko P4, Matt Shepherd recovers to P5, Quinn down to P6, Jess P7, Kyle after that late spin P8, Rico P9, Lesty unfortunately having the same as what I had last season, having to pit with just 1 lap left to go. He's going to come home in P10. Kingan, Harry Collier and Matt Rosemond, as Lesty picks up a 5-second for not serving that speeding penalty as he came into the pit lane very, very late on in this one. But oh wow, that was a race, and that is exactly how I expected to see a Kia Series regular season end, to be fair, with absolute abject chaos.
And Wace put straight into the check. I need JACKOCAR. Okay. That's a bit odd. He's not happy. He's not happy about something. Is he complaining about some sort of illegal overtake? Because he thinks he's won this race. Does Wace? I mean, someone obviously has to tell him it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. But he does think he has this... I mean, mind you, it makes no difference with Risky winning. He's not even part of the tier, is he? But
no, I think what he's thinking
Do you think the restart zone
is where he can overtake from?
Where he can overtake, because that's never how it's worked.
That's not how it works, Wace. Unfortunately, my friend, that's where the leader can start accelerating, not where you can start overtaking from.
Well, I'm sure you'll have that explained to him. But it is a speed 1-2 then. It is Risky from Yuri. Wace still good on third. Jacko in fourth, and Matt Shepard fifth. Quinn sixth, Jess seventh. Kyle, who is just desperately saying here that he is on a pad in eighth. He had to crash out of the lead to prove it to us. Rico 9th and Lesty 10th. Ken in 11th. Harry Collier 12th. We never really saw what happened to Newgarden. He was just off on the restart. He just went off. If he hadn't done that, he could well have taken Baz's spot in the playoffs. As it happened, staying in the chase, maybe he won't mind it too much. Splinter should have really won the race, but there was all sorts of accidents on lap 31. And then Michel Garis out of the race, should have won the race. Baza was crashed into, I believe, wasn't it him who crashed out, and Michel crashed into him. And then Thomas Nevitt also in the pit lane, and Mick Schumacher and Marco Schneider crashing out on track as well. And that is the 18 finishers, or drivers, I should say.
Yeah. So that ends the regular season. Yuri's your regular season champion. He takes another handful of playoff points, exactly what he needed. Not like he did accumulated enough already, into the playoffs. And the man that's looking to be the first person to make it a second Kia championship in what will surely be his final season in Kia. I'm sure he'll cry and whine to Jacko that he's not fast enough to compete in the Cup Series like he does all the time. But of course, the man that almost won in Austria to finish their regular season in the Cup is currently making his way into the playoffs with just a absolute bundle of playoff points to start off, meaning that he's going to be, much like Jake in Cup, almost nailed on to advance without even turning a wheel next week. And next week, if we're lucky enough to be joined by Owen, we will be heading off to Brazil for the Grand Prix in Interlagos, much like we're going to see in Cup, if we're lucky enough to have Owen.
I think you will. I hope I will. I hope I'll be there. I will be there. And we're not going to say I hope. I will be there. So hopefully it'll be a bit more competitive. I mean, if Yuri keeps having days like this, and Splinter, I mean, the top 2 in the championship didn't really have a good... top 3 in the championship didn't really have a good run today. So I suppose in that sense, stick around, because it could get a bit topsy-turvy, this championship fight. And if we get all the way to the championship 5 and everyone have those issues again, we could be in trouble. But if it happens even in the playoff stages, stick around for upsets, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yep. So your playoff hopefuls: Yuri Hasselager, Jamie Bromley, Michelle Goris, Danny Quinn, Jess Ball, Matt Lester, Barry Baldwin and Jack Ricketts. In the chase, you've got Matt Rosemond, Rico Berkenkamp, Matt Shepard, Robin Border, Harry Collier, Isaac Edemer, Thomas Nevitt, Wes Cooper and Marco Schneider. They will be going for the lucky loser position, the one position that is allowed into the Championship 5. Of course, 4 from the guys in the playoffs will be aiming for the Championship 5 and 1 from the chase. So, congratulations to Yuri, another regular season for him, and he will be very happy indeed with how his season's gone. And commiserations to Matt Rosemond, who wasn't able to snatch his way in ahead of the likes of Jacko and Bazza, who do advance into the playoffs, advancing on points. So, equally, congratulations to Risky, who makes it a second race win of the season, backs it up the one that he took in Italy. So clearly a fan here at the Italian circuits is Sullivan Lewis. Thanks very much, Owen, for joining us once again for another chaotic evening of Kia Series racing. We'll be back over on here in JACKOCAR on Thursday as they start the playoffs. The first elimination race, sorry, isn't it, in the playoffs over in Brazil. So a show to watch out for. Make sure you tune in on Thursday here on the JACKOCAR YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't liked the video already. Make sure you do go to @JACKOCAR on Twitter to find out more about the league. Of course, for the Kia series, go to @JACKOCAR2. That's the number 2 on Twitter, where for this evening you can vote on the drivers of the day. Which are your nominations, Mr. Wyatt?
Oh Christ! Right, let's think about this, because I don't know if I'm allowed to even say Michel Gorries, because I have a feeling that wasn't his fault what happened, and it was all going perfectly to plan. But at the end of the day, he did sort of crash into a crashed out car, so I don't really know where to go with that one. Issue is, I've got to think of 2 drivers. Christ, this is quite difficult today. No one really had a good race. Even Yuri didn't have a good race and finished second. Do you know what I mean? Risky's an easy one to give to, and oh, I don't know. Do we have to pick? This is really not giving this league a good reputation, is it? Right. Oh, let me look at the finishing results.
Sometimes you say it's an advantage where you get to pick first, but now I get to listen to you squirm whilst you try and give one of 18 drivers.
Exactly, yeah, I can't even think of one. Well, I can. Risky, because he won the race, that's easy enough. Jacko started at the back of the grid for the second restart, didn't he? And he finished 4th. Or for the 3rd restart. So I suppose I can give him it as well. Good luck. Basically picking the other 2. Well, yeah, good luck.
I'm going to give one to Wace. I
forgot Sorry, Wace.
Even though he thought he won the race, he definitely hasn't, don't worry. But he had a solid race tonight, and he'll be happy with that. His first points of the season. And, oh, my word.
Can you see why I wanted to put Michel Gorries now?
I kind of want to, but I mean, if you watched the instant pack, it's quite funny.
I haven't actually.
He does just drive. Actually, we'll keep this rolling live just whilst you watch the live.
Where is it?
It would be lap 27.
Oh, was it on the stream?
It was on the stream. Yes, it'll be lap 27 on stream.
Okay, because I was watching someone else, you see, so I just
he comes around. He comes around the Piratella straight into the car that's in the middle of the circuit.
Right, okay, let's just.
One would have thought that he would have had his mini map up and seen that there was a car planted in the circuit, but
so
we'll see.
This is going to give Gareth extra time. So I'm watching this now. He heads around. Right. Okay.
Now, do we think that crash, whilst funny, is worthy of denying him a driver of the day vote? Because he technically does deserve a vote. However, do retirees deserve a vote? Is the big question.
The problem is, right, in every other circumstance, this car in this position wouldn't be a position where you'd ever crash. It's in the middle of the racing line. He's tried to avoid it. It's a slightly blind corner. We're not going to be able to think of anyone else.
Basically, what Owen's saying there is you've all been terrible.
You've been all so bad, and I'm going to pick a car that crashed into a stationary vehicle.
It's pretty much everyone in Kia, to be fair.
And it wasn't under greens, was it? It was under flipping safety car. We've wasted enough of your time this evening. Thank you all for watching.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Go over to Twitter.
Only 3 drivers on the vote this week.
Yeah, at JACKOCAR2. Go vote. It'll be live until about 10 p.m. this evening. Thanks for joining myself, Gareth Hall, and Owen White in the commentary box. We'll be back next Tuesday, possibly, if we haven't been fired by then. But have a great week. Join us on Thursday for the Cup Series. We'll see you then.